Hey yo, Jade Roberts here. The Rocky from Moonlighting episode Symphony In Knocked Flat. Bear with me a little bit, I had to take a note. It's been a long time. That's right, 1986 is a long time ago. Let me give a little history from my standpoint. Moonlighting first aired in the spring of 1985. That's right. And in that fall, 1985, Rocky IV was released. 1986 became the biggest year to date for me. In January of 1986, I was flown with my then manager to Rome, Italy, to appear on a national TV show, on their biggest variety show. I met a famous Italian photographer, and he immediately hired me to stay a couple weeks more and photograph an ad campaign for a sports apparel company. Then I returned to Italy for a month to promote that line of sportswear doing photo modeling for magazines as Rambo and Stallone. When I returned to the States, I began a relationship with an ad company here for car dealerships, doing local commercials and personal appearances. Then I got a call to be on my first network TV appearance, a top 10 show, which actually beat my hometown TV show Dallas in the ratings in 1986 to 1987. So I'm recording here from my little studio at home where I do my personalized videos for fans that request them. But yeah, I want to thank Diana and the Moonlighting group for giving this opportunity to answer some questions. It brings back very fond memories, a very special time in my life. So I'm going to go by these questions here that were sent to me. Number one, the episode Symphony In Knocked Flat is a fan favorite and one of the funniest Moonlighting episodes because of the boxing sequence that was clearly inspired by the Rocky IV mixed with a large dose of the Three Stooges. Were you a Moonlighting fan before you got to role? Absolutely. Yeah, my friends and we watched every episode of it. It was a very popular and funny show. Number two, who approached you about being the show? Glenn Gordon, Karen has always talked about wanting to do a boxing episode. What I remember is getting a call at home, out of the blue. Now back then we didn't have texting, we didn't have emails. Okay, it was your home phone number. There was no cell phone, no mobile phone. So we had an answering machine. So I got a call. It's from someone on the production team about doing an episode. And I believe it was 2 days later, they booked it for the next day or the second day after that. They flew me in first class. First class was not something I was used to flying. That's not me. They also had a limo pick me up at the airport, and they took me to the Beverly Hillcrest Hotel. Now remember, this was just for a very little cameo, and it turned out to be one line, but a very important line. When they delivered me, when I was taken to the studio, drove up to the gate, and I was in a regular yellow taxi. The security guy looked in the back seat. I'm there with my sunglasses on. Waved me right in. Didn't even ask us who we were. So I think he thought he recognized me, apparently. So I just got a phone call. And 2 days later, I'm there. How was the role pitched to you, and did it change once you got on set? Was it always just that one line? Yo, David, go for it. I don't remember them telling me what the line was on the phone call until I got there. and they told me it was going to be set up for later in the afternoon, and I just hung out with the background actors. Basically, all day I hung out with the background actors. I did witness the Dolph Lundgren, the Russian boxer guy, come in for filming, came through. But I didn't really know exactly how many lines I was going to have, I don't think, till we actually filmed. So there was a little mystery, but they took care of me. They treated me like I was a celebrity, even though I'm not. Let's see. So the next question: what was your experience on set working with Bruce, Cybill, Glenn, and the rest of the cast and crew? Well, I actually I don't remember meeting Glenn. I may have met him, but I don't remember. I remember the second AD, I believe it was, asked me if I'd like to go meet Bruce. And I was like, well, sure. Of course, I acted real cool, like it was no big deal. And I walked up, and he was waiting to go on to do a scene. He was just waiting outside of in an area out of the area that they were actually going to film. And I shook his hand, and he kind of nodded. And as I walked away, I maybe was a little insecure or something, but I actually made a joke, and I told the assistant director that took me over there, who was really nice. I don't remember his name. I would have to research that. And he said, so what'd you think? And I said, well, he seemed impressed. Of course he was impressed. Yeah. So when I look back, after a while, I thought he was kind of like, why is this guy coming up to me? Which is probably kind of what he thought. But he was probably running his lines. Now that I've done a lot of acting over the years, the last 20, 30 years, I get that. He's probably focusing on his lines. As far as Cybill Shepherd, she was rehearsing her dance scene with the Temptations. The Temptations actually had my name on the trailer, the dressing room. And the Temptations were right next to me. Or they were there the day before, I can't remember. Anyway, she's rehearsing in studio, on set, her dance moves with the Temptations. Yeah, I believe they were there because she was rehearsing dance moves. I went and met her, and she said hello. And like an amateur, I went in the back behind the cameras, and I was just standing there thinking, that's not going to bother her. I was the only one in the room, in the area, that wasn't part of the crew. She worked through a few moves a couple of times, and then she whispered to one of the production people. And the next thing I know, the director said, all non-essential people out of the room. So like I said, I didn't have a lot of experience doing this sort of thing. So I'd done look-alike things, events, appearances, contests, but I really didn't have any experience on set. So I felt it kind of hurt my feelings. I thought, why is she making me go out of the room? I'm not doing nothing. I'm just looking, Maybe she thought I was really Sylvester Stallone, right? No, I doubt it. Okay, so that was a fun, great experience. And then later on, this is how nice this second AD or whatever he was did. He was so cool. So he took me on a tour of some other studios where they filmed things briefly. And while we were doing that, Bruce drove by in his convertible. And he looks over, I look over at him, and he gives me a thumbs up. So he went from not being real friendly, probably just focusing, to thumbs up. Nice guy. So that made me feel a lot better. And I mentioned it to the guy that was giving me a tour. But they gave me a tour. I mean, like I was basically just a one-line guy, I was pretty much like a background player. But they treated me like a little king. Okay, so once you were cast, what was it like for you? You can elaborate on how they put you up and treated you very well. Well, like I said, first class seat on the plane, Beverly Hillcrest Hotel. And then, got me a ride. It took care of me on set. It was just like a dream. The set was a boxing fan's dream because Don King was also a guest star. What was it like meeting and working with him? Well, the funny thing about filming And the people out there that have done it understand they don't necessarily have you in the same room or the same day. And then they'll edit it all together. So I was not in the boxing ring room area when David and Cybill were there. Go figure, huh? The magic of TV and movies. So everything they did, they had the cameras on them. I was nowhere to be seen. When we filmed my scene, they brought me into the same room with the ring. They had cameras up in the ring, shooting down into the audience. And I was amongst all those extras that were there. And basically I was in the middle of them. They threw some fog in there. And I said, you've seen the episode. Yo, David, I'm like this. And I go for it. That's it. No stars, no celebrities, no Cybill Shepherd, no Bruce Willis. So that's how it was filmed, and no Don King. Okay, so what? Let's see. Did you give any boxing tips to Bruce and Cybill? Well, I am a fitness trainer, and I do teach some kickboxing, but no opportunity for that. That would have been fun. Did Bruce have any natural boxing skills at all? How about Cybill? Well, when I saw the scene, and I don't know how much it looked like Bruce did a lot of the stunt work there. To me, it didn't. There was, I'm sure that he probably had a stunt double working some of it when he got knocked, from the films from back. But when he did some rolling and flipping, and he looked very agile and athletic. And of course, he did Die Hard, and he had to be very athletic for that, even though they do try to use stunt doubles. Sometimes the stars do some of them themselves. As a matter of fact, that reminds me, one of my best friends, his name is Eric Barkey. Let's see, I'm going to mess this up. Just look it up. Eric, it looks like Barque. Eric Barkey, Bruce Willis's, one of his stand-in double for probably the last 10 years and commercials. And of course, Bruce isn't filming anymore, so Eric isn't filming like that anymore. He's just doing his Bruce Willis look-alike impersonation thing. I just saw him last week up in Baltimore, and he's doing fine. We went to the Rocky Steps. I got a booking up there, and we ran around up and down the steps. He's one of my best friends. So he did some stunts, some basic stuff for Bruce. He wasn't the stunt man, but he had to do some stunt type work when he was a stand-in. Okay, did they film anything that you can remember that did not make the final cut? It was so limited what I filmed. We did film my part over and over. It probably took 30 minutes to an hour just to film the Yo, David, go for it. Getting the lights, getting everybody in there set up, getting the camera right, getting the lights right. Let's see, what are some of your best memories of filming the episode? So the best memories for me, of course, meeting Bruce Willis, meeting Cybill Shepherd, memories of filming, just the fact that I was there. I was so very fortunate to do it. I'd never done this. This is my first SAG eligible role, so I was on cloud nine, so to speak. The whole thing was great, and it gave me more confidence to do other things in the future, which I began doing not shortly after that. A lot of filming, a lot of commercials. Let's see, after the episode aired, did you get any feedback from Sylvester Stallone? No, I did not, but I started working with a guy, and I did a lot of car commercials, local car commercials and appearances around the country. And he was kind of a funny, goofy guy. Rick Solanskis, I think he's still in the music business. I think he's up in Branson. Great guy. But he called supposedly Stallone's manager and asked him, he said, we're filming a lot with this guy. We hope you don't mind. Does that bother you? And he said, the guy said, I can't guarantee anything, but, I'm not going to make a comment. I'm not going to say anything negative or positive about it. So we never did say I was Stallone doing those commercials. It was just an insinuation, and then there was always on a subcaption, there was something that said celebrity impersonator, a disclaimer, so to speak. But as far as Sylvester, I'll give you a quick couple of stories. When they opened Planet Hollywood in Dallas, I made my way over there with a photo and a letter to Sylvester, because I wanted to make sure he got my stuff so I could maybe do something for him. I get there to the Planet Hollywood area downtown where they had the restaurant opening. There were police everywhere. It was cordoned off. And the radio stations were behind a rope. And one of them said, "Can you come and do an interview with us?" Because I had a cap on and Planet Hollywood cap. And I was just there, and they thought, obviously I looked a little bit like him. So I tried to get that in, but they wouldn't let me. The police wouldn't let me. And I knew a policeman there, and he still wouldn't let me. So I didn't get to, but I still had the envelope with the photos and the letter. And then I ran into a Bridget Nielsen, his wife back then. Her looked like for her standing there. And we were up on an area that was raised up, and we could see. And when Sylvester came out to sign autographs, I worked my way through the crowd, and I handed him the envelope. And I said, finally, I got through. They were like kids. I felt like a bum. I was working my way through kids to get his attention. And I'm leaning over, and I give him this manila envelope. "Here, Sly, this is for you. This is for you." I even did the voice. "This is for you. This is for you." He looks up, takes it, nods, reluctantly, like, "Okay, jackass." And then he gives it to his bodyguard. And his bodyguard hands it to a cop. Because they were probably like, "Oh, what's in this envelope?" So I never heard from him back then. But then when Get Carter came out in 2000, Warner Brothers hired me to promote the film. And they said, "Stallone knows you're doing this, and you may meet him." But he never showed up at any of the events where I was. But apparently he knew I was doing it, whatever, and they were fine with it. And then several times over the years, I've been asked to do stand-in work for him, and then they find out I'm much taller. Like Stallone's like 5'10" or so, and I'm like 6'2". So the height doesn't work for stand-in work. You just need to be about the same height. And but they were filming Grudge Match in New Orleans. And I knew the PR lady. She contacted me and said, "We're going to have you come in. They're going to have you come in." So they flew me out to be his taller, younger boxing double. Because the actor playing Robert De Niro's son, actually an actor playing in it, was an amateur boxer. He knew how to box. So they were going to have me box him, and box him southpaw style, So they brought me in, they flew me in. I didn't know Sly was going to be there. I see him walk in. I'm waiting to audition. And he goes and they're doing lighting checks and stuff, and he walks into the soundstage, and he's got a trailer out back. And then finally he walks by, and I'm thinking, I got to say something. He walks by without me knowing it, and he says, "Yo." And I was talking to this guy, I said, "Did Sly just say yo?" He said, "Yeah, he said, yeah." I think he's messing with me, I guess. So I go, when he comes back out, I said, I got to say something to him. So I said, Mr. Stallone, I'm Jade Roberts. And he said, "I know." And then he just walks by. So I was like, okay. So then I get on camera, and he's got his shirt off over the side talking to the director. I talked to the director, I talked to the producer, everybody's like, "Oh, this is going to be great. We're going to use you as a double." And Sly is just like ripped, He's like, I don't know, he was in his late 60s back then. I can't remember the year. It was just a few years ago. And he was just ripped. And I thought, I'm not that ripped. This was kind of a last minute thing when they flew me in. I'm ripped okay, because I stay in pretty good shape. So it was very intimidating. They said I had the gig. And then a couple weeks later, after my agent bugged the crap out of him, the stunt coordinator was not there when I was there. The boxing coordinator was, "See, you got this. I'm going to teach you how to fight like Sly." And then they said, "Look," we went in a direction. So they ended up, the CGI guys were talking, "So we're going to put his face on your body." And I thought, well, they don't really need me, do they? Turns out they didn't. They put CGI'd his face onto two smaller boxing doubles. And that's what you see in Grudge Match with Stallone and De Niro. And that's the last time I saw Mr. Stallone. I do follow him everywhere on Instagram, and I watch all his shows. Let's see. Would you say that after your parents you got more calls from work? Yes. And I'll explain some of that later. Even though you were considered the premier Sylvester Stallone impersonator, did you ever get mistaken for his brother Frank? Yes. I've had over the years many times, since I'm taller and I don't exactly look like him, and we've aged differently. He's 13 years older than me. And I've never had plastic surgery. So he's had a lot of that. So when you do that, you're going to change your look, his cheekbones, just getting older. But I try to do a good impersonation. It's not a copy. But Frank looks a little different. I've been told that many times. Frank's a little taller, too. What technique do you use to perfect Sylvester Stallone's voice and mannerisms? What techniques? Well, I had a tape recorder when I was a little guy, and I found that I could do voices. So I would mimic people, and I would act like an announcer, and this is going back to when I was like 8, 9 years old. And I was a fun-loving kid, but I was still shy in public, so I never did any acting. I never did theater in school or anything. But people kept telling me I looked like him in high school, and so then it drew me in college. They said there's a lookalike contest, you win easily, and I did. It was at Auburn University in Alabama. So then in Dallas, I won a big one with Ron Smith Celebrity Lookalikes, and I won a couple others. But the Ron Smith Celebrity Lookalike contest, he was all over the country promoting. He was hiring people out, and that's how I got into a lot of other networking, met a lot of other people, and I worked on the voice as a kid, different voices. When the movie came out, my friend and I went to the movie. It came out, and my friend was doing Stallone's voice, and he's going, "Yo, Adrian," I said, "Bob, if you can do it, I can do it better. Yo, Adrian, So I've worked on it, and I have naturally a deeper voice anyway, but I do have to. Even Stallone, if you watch him interviewed, he doesn't always talk like rock. He drops his voice down, but he's got a very deep voice. Yes. Okay. I believe we're getting to the last page of questions. Bruce Willis, let's see, and Slide, Tina Flynn, Hollywood Restaurants. Did you ever meet up with them and work with them? Okay, so I did appear at several Planet Hollywood restaurants over the years. I did, and that was good because that works well. It was a theme perfectly set up for us in Dallas, Orlando, in New York City. Not only are you the celebrity impersonator of Sylvester Stallone, you also a impersonator and actor. What are some of the latest projects you're working on that you can share? Okay, so last year, I'm just gonna let last year I did my first Tulsa King commercial. That's right, King of Tulsa. Yeah, kind of a mob. He's the mob guy in that. Check it out. It's on my my Instagram. It's on my website, StalloneImpersonator.com. And Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff, LinkedIn. Okay, so let's see. There's a group of us that did The Expendables on a movie called The Starving Games, and that's where I met Eric Barkey and Jason Stanley and Joseph Aviel. And we got Stallone, we got Schwarzenegger, we got Jason Statham, we got Chuck Norris, Gene Williams. And we all did the Starving Games movie as a spoof movie. It's kind of funny. Check it out. I do get a little residuals from it too. You know what I mean? Hey, we're always working on developing something. We've come close a couple times to making a movie with us in it. We call ourselves the Expandables. We have a Facebook page called the Expandables. Twitter X, Expandables Yo, our Instagram. And let's see, I'm missing out. I made jotted some notes down here. I apologize. Let's see. And we have, okay, Moonlighting was, that was at the time, and it's one of the most important things, biggest things in my life that I ever did, because it was the first SAG eligible show that I was involved in with big celebrities. And if you could describe a dream project, what would it be? Well, playing Stallone in his life story, playing him at some age, well, that was always my dream. I always thought that would be so fantastic when I do that. Probably won't happen because I'm probably going to go before he does. He's probably going to live forever, you know. And when they make that life story, I would like to be involved in it somehow. It would be great. Okay, so another highlight of my career, I did a film in France with Gerard Depardieu called Thalasso. It was an indie film. They flew me out to France, to Normandy, and we filmed at a resort with another very famous writer that's done a lot of films with him. I also did a Michelob Super Bowl commercial a couple years ago, where I played Sly, of course, you know. That was a very big thing for me because it was a national commercial. Because a lot of times we get things that's local, and we do personal appearance, we do conventions and stuff like that as impersonator lookalikes. That's the bulk of what we usually get. And sometimes we get some really fantastic gigs, if you know what I mean. Like I said, I just returned from Philadelphia, got booked to take photos with people at the statue. Who, you know, go figure, right? But they flew me up there, and I stayed right by the steps. I didn't stay under the steps. I'm just kidding, you know. It was actually the underpass at the interstate. I'm kidding. No, it was in a nice hotel. It's just across the park. So, I think that sort of sums it up. We're getting close to 30 minutes, 26 minutes and 33 seconds. And I would love to elaborate more, but I have to do some cameo videos after this. And then I got to get packed for a trip coming up in a couple days. But if you ever are curious, you can go to StalloneImpersonator.com or Jade Roberts. If you Google Jade Roberts, you're going to see a lot of Rocky and Stallone stuff on there. But to say goodbye, please allow me to just speak the lyrics of the beautiful song by the great Al Jarreau. We'll walk by night, we'll fly by day, moonlighting strangers who just met on the way. Who just met on the way. Well, everyone, hope to meet you in person one day. And don't forget, you keep punching.